Okay, welcome to our event, Ms. Kalra, and thank you so much for giving us the time to address such an important subject, autism.
Hey, Sona, thank you for having me. And thanks for this gracious welcome with so much, tagged along my name. I just humbly try as much as I can to work with children and families with special needs. And I have a special corner, so to say, for autism, which is why I have worked more in that field than any other area of, neurodiverse children. So yeah, shoot along, ask me whatever you think you want to know.
Right. So we do have so many questions and myths around autism, what exactly it is, why people get it, why some people get it, why some people don't, what's the science behind it. So my first question would be, what exactly is autism? Is it a disease? Is it a myth? Some people say it's just behavior issues. The kid wasn't given the right amount of time or attention by parents and they became hyper and this and that. So can you please shed some light on how it starts, what exactly it is, what's the science behind it?
So you've already said what I wanted to say. Okay. First, I want to tell you what autism is not. You will come to what is autism, but for a lot of families and for a lot of parents, it's necessary to know what autism is not. Autism is not a bimari. Autism is not a disease. Autism is not pagalpan. Okay. Autism is none of those. Autism, because it is not a disease, because I'm saying it is not a disease, you cannot do an MRI scan to find out autism. You cannot do an ultrasound while you're pregnant or after your child is born to find out if he or she has or can have autism. Because it is not a disease, there are no medications for autism. So, I want to dispel this right at the word go. Because a lot of times, you'll have quacks and you'll have other practitioners and this and that, and they will tell you, pudiya kha lo, have this. Am I okay being, are you okay being bilingual or you want me only English? Bilingual is fine?
Yeah, bilingual is fine.
Yeah. So you will go to someone and say, ये मैं दवाई की पुड़िया दे रहा हूँ, ये खा लो और तुम्हारा बच्चा एकदम normal हो जाएगा. So nothing like that. Because it is not a disease, there is no cure, there is no treatment. Autism, simply put, and today I like to talk in a very general language. I don't want to give very lot of medical terms because I'm sure families who have children with autism have read a lot, have seen a lot of YouTube videos, so they have heard a lot of jargon. I want to just kind of bring it down to mota, a day-to-day understanding of what the word is. Okay. So autism is not a disease. We've established that. There is no treatment, there is no cure, there is no MRI, there is no ultrasound, there is no blood test, there is no chromosomal test. There is nothing you can do to find out whether your child has autism or will have autism. Okay. What autism simply is a set of symptoms. It is a set of X number of symptoms. We will come to that a little later. It is a neurobiological, I don't want to use the word disorder. It's a neurobiological condition. Neuro mean anything to do with the brain. Okay. It is a neurobiological condition related to the brain that impacts how a person perceives and socializes with others. Okay. And in turn causes problems in social interaction and communication. So what centers of your brain, we all know that our brain is divided into 4 lobes, and both sides of the brain and different parts of the brain here and here control different things we do in our lives. One part of our brain helps us think, one part of the brain helps us move, and one part of the brain helps the nose smell, one part of the brain helps the eye see. That's how it is. So those parts of the brain that are related to helping a child or a human being understand social cues, understand language, understand communication, those are the parts of the brain that are affected during development. And that is why they come out with a set of symptoms, and this set of symptoms is called autism. Now, what are the set of symptoms? You can get it diagnosed by a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Those are the 2 registered people who will do this for you. Your general practitioner, your pediatrician. You can share your concerns. If you have any delays, you can go and share it with them, but they are not authorized to diagnose it for you. You will have to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist to go and get a formal diagnosis of this condition called autism. Okay. Now again, before Sonal, I go into autism. So you're right now, people who are watching your show definitely are we are two groups of people. One who already know their child is on the spectrum. One who are maybe fearing, if I may use the word, or doubting that their child
Right.
has autism. I am also a mother, and I use the word fear simply because, and you're a mother too. So you understand that
Right.
word fear.
Yes.
When we become parents, we have this dream, we have this vision, aisa hoga, aisa hoga, aisa hoga, and all of us have it. It's very natural, it's very human. And when our child does not, go through those periods of achievement at its pace that others are going, it does raise a lot of anxiety, it does raise a lot of questions. So, which is why I bring up the word fear. So, we have to first understand that what does the word milestone mean? Any child born, okay, will achieve certain goals in 5 main areas of development. They will be physical and gross motor development, there will be speech development, there will be language and communication development, there will be cognitive development, जिसको हम intelligence बोलते हैं. किस उम्र पे बच्चा पजल डाल पाएगा, किस उम्र में बच्चा कटोरी के अंदर कटोरी डाल पाएगा, किस उम्र में बच्चा जिक्सॉ पजल सॉल्व कर लेगा, कॉग्निटिव माइलस्टोन्स, किस उम्र में बच्चा लॉजिकल थिंकिंग यूज कर लेगा, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट थिंकिंग यूज कर लेगा. दीज आर ऑल कॉग्निटिव डेवलपमेंट. एंड योर लास्ट इज सोशल इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट. ओके, सो why I want to bring up the word milestones at this stage is so that we set that one basic thing. The earlier you diagnose or at least start thinking about autism, the better it is for us, both
Right.
as a clinician and as a family. Okay, because the sooner I get a child, the more work I can do. And the sooner
Right.
you start seeing the signs, the earlier you can come to people like me. And we can help, work with the child on all the symptoms that the child might have. So I'm not sure how many of you know this. So there's something called CDC. If you Google, it's called Center for Disease Control. They have the milestone tracker. A lot of parents ko ye hota hai ki ma'am milestone de do. Like I also run a blog on Instagram. A lot of times I have parents asking me, ma'am, ek wo de do, milestone ka chart kaise main pata karun? So it's very easy. You don't need to come to people like you and me and wait in lines and wait for a milestone tracker. CDC, which is called the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. If you type Google mein CDC, just say CDC milestone checklist. It'll open up month by month, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 6. It'll open up month to month by month checklist for all these 5 areas of development. So my first thing, go-to thing is, as your child is born, start tracking their growth even otherwise. Whether or not you're looking for autism.
Question there.
Yeah.
So actually, when my son was 7, 8, 9 months old, all the other kids of his age were saying baba, baba, making those sounds, right?
Babbling.
Kaka, baba, baba. My son did not make any sound until he was 18 months old. And I was scared as a mother. I actually thought for a while there could be some problem with him. But then we went to a doctor and he said each child has their own way of growing and their milestones may not be same. But if he listens and if he takes your instructions, he's fine, he will talk. So
see,
when
you need to know
on a
averages.
website and checking out that list where they mention that the language should start at 7 months or 8 months, the crawling should start by 7 months or 6 months. It may not be same for every parent, but then the parent might get stressed that what is wrong with my child.
No, see,
So
those milestones always give you a window.
okay,
There's always an asterisk there that all children develop at their own pace. That is why they will never say babbling 7 months. They will say babbling 7 to 13 months.
mine started at 18 months. Imagine
but
the kind
like
of
you
stress
said,
I
you
went
will
through as
not
a
even,
parent.
you will not only be checking your babbling का milestone ना, तुम आगे उसका जब तुम communication और comprehension वाले bracket में जाओगे, you will tick the comprehension bit, you will bit the understanding instruction bit, you will tick the hearing bit.
Yes.
Okay. Now imagine you had crossed the comprehension bit, crossed the hearing bit, crossed the communication bit. So you need to see that side of the coin too.
Right.
That is where your milestones help you. So if you had that milestone tracker and you were tracking the overall growth of your child, it will give you a holistic picture. Okay. And then you go to your pediatrician with much more confidence and faith कि sir मैं देख रही थी इसका ये है. And of course you're right, over panicking with child development doesn't help. There's always a bandwidth, but I want parents to start tracking milestones, especially when they start seeing some kind of red flags. You know, we as parents, we are able to tell. We live, eat, breathe, poop, drink everything with the child from the day he or she is born. So you're able to tell there's something not right, there is something amiss. वो जो something है, this informal milestone tracker helps you kind of breathe कि अब मैं किससे पूछूं, किधर जाऊं. आधा टाइम तो तुम्हें pediatrician से अपॉइंटमेंट नहीं मिलती, साइकोलॉजिस्ट का तो आपको पता ही नहीं होता. So here is one thing, it's accessible to you. If you want to use it, please use it. That way, when you see a lot of crosses on your child's chart, that is the time you need to raise an alarm. A lot of times we are not doing that, right? And a lot of times we are also a set of people where we become very complacent. ये भी हो जाएगा, लड़का है लेट बोलता है, बोल देगा, ढाई में भी बोल देगा तो ठीक है, तीन में भी. तो there is that set of
happens. Yes.
Yeah, so we cannot generalize it कि over anxiety हो जाएगा. To each his own. If a family or a parent feels that looking at those milestones would freak me out, don't do it. But a parent like me wanted to. I wanted to see, okay, what is the time frame within which, and I'll tell you how else a milestone tracker helps you. It helps you understand that, is it that, see, we all know that your brain develops at the fastest pace it ever will in the first 5 years. And within the first 5 years also, it is the first 3 years.
Right.
There is no other period of time in your entire life till the day you go to your grave that your brain will expand at a rate that it will do from 1 to 5. And like I said, within that in 1 to 3. So your 3 critical years, अगर आप ऐसे ही कर दोगे कि इसने बोला अच्छा लेट है तो कुछ नहीं होता, कल कर लेगा, परसों कर लेगा, it doesn't work like that. Then you're already reached a stage where that I have missed out on those early intervention period where I could have helped the child, or where you could have helped the child. Now, for example, crawling, right? Let's say children usually start crawling the moment they sit up. 6 months पे वो खुद बैठ जाते हैं, फिर वो थोड़ा होते हैं, फिर sitting up on roll करके अपने आप ऊपर बैठना और crawling थोड़ा थोड़ा साथ साथ ही होता है. The child starts rolling in the 4th and 5th month. एक दिन roll करते करते उसको समझ आ जाता है कि मुझे कैसे ऊपर आना है. And that is the day when your life goes for a toss, when now the child has started crawling. So then the next thing they understand is ऐसे हाथ रखो तो I can move my bum and I can move. Average age क्या देते हैं? 8. In milestone tracker, they'll give you average ages. They won't say कि 8 हो गया खत्म, story finish. No, they give you a mark. But what I'm trying to say is 8 भी हो गया, 9 भी हो गया, 10 भी हो गया, 11 भी हो गया. Won't you just sit back and say, okay, can I make some modifications in my house which might make crawling easier for him? Can I provide a little more stimulus? Can I put his toys a little further away so that he's motivated to crawl? You will do all those things, right?
Yes.
But when will you do all those things? When you know कि इस time bits के अंदर usually बच्चे ये करते हैं. अगर आपको ये पता ही नहीं होगा तो फिर आप हो सकता है कई बार हम बच्चों को opportunities नहीं देते हैं. See, in my practice of 21 years, the one thing that I've also learned is a lot of our delays in our children are also environmentally created delays. उसको चलने मत दो, गिर जाएगा, सिर टूट जाएगा. My husband did it. They didn't let my daughter walk for the longest time. गिर जाएगी, उसको घुटने में चोट लग जाएगी, उसका पैर टूट जाएगा, उसका सिर टूट जाएगा, कोकोनट जैसा उसका सिर है, फूट जाएगा. All of us have heard that, right?
Yes.
All of us have heard that. चलने ही मत दो.
It's very common. Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is a lot of delays sometimes are also because our environment is so restrictive for our children. Again, milestones come into play. कि अगर आप देखोगे नहीं यार, इसको तो 8, 9, 10, 11 पे crawl कर जाना था. Is there something in my environment that I'm not is not conducive enough for my child to crawl? Can I change something from that? And then you suddenly see the child is like crawling maybe in 2 days. So which is why I keep saying it helps to keep a track on your milestones. Now, coming back to autism. So now there's enough evidence, research, and practitioners who actually can help you diagnose your child with the set of symptoms of autism as early as 1.5, 18 months. You don't have to wait for 3 years. Okay. to get an official diagnosis. Now you can get your diagnosis by 1.5, which means you will start seeing very, very subtle signs very, very early on in some
The
children.
early it is, the better it is for the child as
Yeah. अब मेरे को सिर दर्द अगर हो रहा है, अभी शुरू हुआ है और मैं उसका कुछ कर लूं versus it's a full blown migraine attack.
yeah
It is better. जब अभी शुरू हुआ है and I know, oh dude, this is my migraine attack. I quickly need to go into a dark room. I need to switch off my light. I need to lie down. I need to do something about it so that this migraine doesn't become a full blown nonsense. Right? It's the same thing.
If you talk about early, like the early sign that parents should pick, how early it can be. 13
Your
months, you
infancy,
are
0 to
that
1,
when the
0 to
parent
1.
can go to a practitioner. But how early a parent can tell? Is it like
Within
at
0 to 1,
months
within birth to 1 year, you can do that.
Okay.
I'll tell you like infancy mein, I'll tell you infancy mein some simple thing. Limited eye contact. When you're breastfeeding your baby or bottle feeding your baby, you're constantly making eye contact. Okay?
Yes.
जब वो बहुत छोटे हैं हम पास रखते हैं because उनका vision इतना वो नहीं होता, धीरे धीरे थोड़ा दूर होते हैं. Non-verbal communication is with your child right from birth, right? They're not talking, they're not even cooing.
Yes.
अभी cooing babbling वाली stage भी नहीं आई है, मगर उससे पहले ही you know your child. As a mother, you can tell कि this my child and right now are bonding just with that eye contact. Okay, so there is eye contact, so there will be limited eye contact. You know, by within the first year they start pointing. They pointing. Yes. You will see either no pointing or you will see limited pointing. Okay. एक वर्ड होता है जॉइंट अटेंशन. तुमने अपने बच्चे को देखा, उसने तुम्हें देखा. ओके
राइट.
तुमने अपने छोटे से इन्फेंट को बोला वो देखो बर्डी आई एंड द चाइल्ड टर्न्ड टू सी द बर्डी. द चाइल्ड इज नॉट टॉकिंग येट. दिस इज जॉइंट अटेंशन वेयर you took your child's attention to something and the child joined you in that process.
Right.
Okay?
But if the child is not joining you, then there's something wrong.
There is something amiss. But again, Sona, you have to see. अब ये नहीं कि 10 दिन में से एक बार भाई उसने मुझे joint attention नहीं दिया, autism हो गया.
Right.
You have to see the frequency of the behavior and duration of the behavior. Those are two very critical things. अब 4-5 महीने में तो मेरा भी दिल नहीं करता तुमसे बात करने का. That doesn't mean I hate you, right? So you have to see any behavior that you're talking about. You have to look at the frequency. How many times during a day my child is not joining me in joint attention? And for how long is my child? And how much effort does it take for me to bring my child into a zone of joint attention?
Right.
Those things you also have to be, very, very careful of. 1 hour episode, maybe the child was busy, playing with her toy and she was not interested in the bird you were showing her. That kind of thing. Okay? So then no response to hearing their name. Children understand their name very, very, very early on, but you feel that, aisa to nahi hai, my child cannot hear. So the first test also parents are told is definitely do the hearing test. Wo luckily aajkal in hospitals, as soon as your child is born, vision and hearing test is done immediately. In developed cities, maybe the case is not the same in far-flung areas or tier 3 cities, but I think usually hearing and vision are your two things that are checked immediately upon birth. So your child is not hearing impaired. His hearing is absolutely normal. How come he's not responding to his or her name? Why is it? Again, frequency and duration. How come every time I call him, there is no response?
Doesn't hear.
How come so long I've tried, so many days it's not happening? अब again, एक दिन में 24 घंटे में से एक बार he didn't respond. That's not the criteria. Okay. Then muted facial expressions. Again, very, very young babies express a lot with their face, their emotions. Okay. And they can read their parents and immediate caregivers' body language and face. They can understand when you're laughing, they're also smiling. They might not know the reason, but there is a social smile. You smile, they smile, you smile, which we call social smile. So you will see delays there. You will see, wow, 4th month tak usually social smile aa jati hai. 4th, 5th month tak, you coo, you gaggle and you laugh and they smile back. So is there something like that? Then is there a lack of or a loss of language? Your child started babbling, your child started using one word, and then suddenly your child has stopped talking. Your child has stopped using the words the child was using.
Right.
Or like maybe in your son's case, if he was not, okay, now again, I want to go back to your son's point. You said wo bol nahi raha tha, right? But I'm sure wo non-verbal ways mein tumse communicate kar raha tha.
He was using his actions. And
He
he
was
would
using
hear
actions,
things.
maybe
If
pulling
I
you
tell him
there,
go
maybe
and
pointing.
switch on the light, he will go and switch on the light. But he
And he
will
was
just
doing
not
other
talk.
things to get your attention, na?
Yes, yes,
Maybe pulling your
yes.
kurta, making dragging you there,
Yes,
maybe pointing,
yes,
maybe grunting. And when
yes,
you spoke to him, he responded with actions. So
yes,
see, that's what
yes.
I'm saying, a bigger picture. So was there a stage when your child developed some language, some communication, and then suddenly you feel, oh my God, you know, all the words that he knows, all the words and the language she knew, she's no longer using it. So those are my red flags. So limited eye contact, lack of gesturing, absence of joint attention, no response to hearing their name, muted expressions, lack and loss of language. These are within the first 1.5 years.
And
There are
yes.
specific set of symptoms in toddlerhood also, which we can
Right.
come to later. You
And
know,
there's also
so
some degrees that people talk about: high functioning, low functioning. So what
okay.
exactly it is?
सी ऑटिज्म अगर आप उसका फुल डायग्नोसिस का वर्ड पढ़ो तो है वो है ऑटिज्म स्पेक्ट्रम डिसऑर्डर ओके
Right.
जैसे हम छोटे होते याद है मैं इस पे बना के दिखाती हूँ हम छोटे होते ये बनाते थे ना स्कूल में एक नंबर लाइन वी यूज्ड टू मेक अ नंबर लाइन दिस हम यहाँ लिखते थे 0
Yes.
1 2 3 4 ओके
Yes,
so
yes.
this is what autism means let's say this is 6 I've written figure this is extreme end of the spectrum this is the lower end of the spectrum so how much quality of your child's, like I said, autism primarily affects the language, communication, and socialization centers of your brain. It does not usually affect, there are some kids with autism who also have cognitive impairments. Okay. But right now, we're not talking about comorbidities. We're not talking about along with autism or kya. Abhi main sirf autism pe, I'm like straight jacketing just that. So autism mein cognitive impairment ka koi kaam nahi hai. Most of the physical and gross motor milestones will be where they have to be. Okay.
Okay.
The major red flags will be in the area of socialization, communication, language, and
Okay.
interaction. Okay. So where on the line is your child's socialization, language affected is what is called mild autism or what is called severe autism. Okay.
Okay.
So a child from, let's say, again, usme bhi, the same child, let's say I'm a child or I'm an individual with symptoms of autism. I don't like calling them autistic individual. It's like saying, kal agar mujhe cancer hai, to I'm cancerous Birinder Kalra. No, I am Birinder Kalra who has a diagnosis of cancer. I'm not
Right.
cancerous. Okay.
Right.
Similarly, there is no autistic individual. There is an individual who has symptoms
Autism.
of autism. So
Right.
we were discussing the scale. So the same me who has the symptoms of autism, in the language parameter, maybe I'm on the milder side. Okay. Understanding of language. But in the expressive speech department of the symptom, I might be on the extreme end. So autism is not black and white. Ya aap idhar ho, ya aap idhar ho. That's why it is called a spectrum. In itself, it spreads across the spectrum, and within its symptoms of the 3 core areas, you could be either here or here, you could be in the center. Okay. That is why jab kehte hain why autism is a more challenging diagnosis, that you need the right practitioner and the right eye to understand. ये मत सोचो कि जो severe autism है फिर वो सब कुछ severe है, हो सकता है, no, maybe there are other set of skills which are really 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 strong, और हमने उसको severe बुला के एक severe के बक्से में बंद कर दिया है कि वो severe autism है. So which is why autism is not called autism, it's called autism spectrum disorder. Okay. Right. So that's what autism spectrum disorder. Now how do you now the next question automatically can be how do you kind of like discuss this, how do you understand this spectrum? Right. अब आता है हमने रेड फ्लैग्स कर लिए, पेरेंट्स ने, केयरगिवर्स ने देखा, हो सकता है कई बार आपको नहीं समझ आएगा, आपकी मदर इन लॉ या आपकी मदर या आपका पड़ोसी आपकी अटेंशन लाएगा इस बात पे. ओके. सो लेट्स से as a family, as a unit, as a village, we figured out that there is something amiss in these 3 areas of my child's development. Okay. Then what you need to do is you will go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Okay. Right. They will not put injections a lot of times. Ma'am, testing में क्या होता है, मेरे बच्चे को सुई लगा देंगे, मेरे बच्चे का MRI कर देंगे, मेरे बच्चे की ब्रेन का ओपन करके कुछ देखेंगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. You will go to a psychologist. They have and like I said, there are no blood tests or MRI. These are paper pencil tests. Okay. Right. These are what we call qualitative tests. with some quantitative things written on them. So any kind of special needs, first of all, has to, there's a book that psychologists and psychiatrists follow, which is called the DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Okay, volume 5. So all mental illnesses and all kind of special needs, I hate using the word, but now that the manual describes itself as mental disorder, all kind of conditions are listed under the DSM-5. Okay. So उसमें autism का भी mention है. तो DSM-5 में autism के कुछ signs and symptoms listed है. Okay. So DSM-5 lists the signs and symptoms of autism and states how many of these must be present to confirm a diagnosis. कि ये let's say hypothetically, honestly, now I don't remember. Let's say ये 30 signs and symptoms है. इसमें से कितने पे एक X number होता है minimum. कि इतना अगर आता है तो अब आपका डायग्नोस्टिक ऑफ ऑटिज्म है. एक बार आप DSM वो कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद 2-3 scales that I see very often. I'm sure there are many more, but because I'm not a psychologist and a psychiatrist, maybe there are many more. So there is one is CARS, which is Childhood Autism Rating Scale. Then there is something which they called ABC, Autism Behavior Checklist. Then there is something called STAT, which is the screening tool for autism for toddlers and young children. Okay, so these are 3 tools. CARS, I think, is a screening tool. STAT is a screening tool. So उन तीनों का अलग अलग काम है. आपको अगर जब ऑटिज्म का डायग्नोसिस चाहिए तो पहले कार्स होता है टू गेट यू अ स्कोर. राइट. उसमें आप कुछ टिक बॉक्स yeah, it's a very comprehensive document that you fill. The psychiatrist or the psychologist will sit with you and we will fill it together. So the scores on CARS usually range from 15 to 30. जो भी आप टिक एंड क्रॉस करोगे वो आपका 15 to 30 की रेंज में आएगा, and 30 is the cutoff point. Okay, 30 is your cutoff point. So for a diagnosis of mild autism you are 30. अगर आप 30 से नीचे नीचे हो कार्स में तो then हम ऑटिज्म का डायग्नोसिस रूल आउट कर देते हैं. Okay. अगर आप 30 and 30 के बियॉन्ड हो तो हम कहते हैं कि कार्स कहता है कि योर चाइल्ड हैज द ऑटिज्म स्पेक्ट्रम डिसऑर्डर. उसमें 30 and all is mild, and anything beyond 60 are categorized as the a child with severe symptoms. Okay, so that's CARS. And then STAT पर में क्या होता है? STAT actually basically just looks at your child's communication and play behavior. CARS doesn't do that in detail. STAT, the screening tool for autism and toddlers and young children, that basically assesses your child's quality of play and communication and imitation. It's specifically to those 3 things. So they sit with the child, they observe, they ask the parents to send videos, which are then watched and then scored. So these are mota these. So then these basically your psychologist will then hand you over a diagnosis. So we've discussed what is autism, we've discussed what is autism is not, we've discussed whom you will go to when you have, if you have a fear, how it's diagnosed. Then you come to a lot of time, parents and families are like, kyun hua?
So most important is kyun hua? अब हम क्या करें? What's the next step?
Yeah. See, kyun hua में अभी तक जितनी भी research है Sonal, the most conclusive research one definitely is genetic factors. Okay, right. There is definitely, but which gene, what component of the gene, what combination of the genes, we still don't know. Okay. So जैसे आप डाउन सिंड्रोम में कह सकते हो कि एक्स्ट्रा क्रोमोसोम है और ये वाला है तो इसलिए डाउन सिंड्रोम है. आप ऑटिज्म में नहीं बता सकते हो कि ये वाला जीन नंबर और ये जेनेटिक म्यूटेशन और ये जीन कॉम्बिनेशन जब मिल जाते हैं तो ऑटिज्म है. We still haven't found out that. So it is definitely a genetic, there is genetic basis to autism is what is coming up again and again, but we don't know more than that which and how. Because then the day we find out which and how, we will really be able to do a lot of genetic engineering and work that out. But we still don't know that. What does not cause autism, for sure, is bad parenting. Okay. This is one thing I want to really send home. कोई parent bad parent नहीं होता है. There is no parent on this planet who can be a bad parent. Once you're a parent, I think you are the best parent you can be. Whatever your resources, whatever your finances, whatever your system allows you to, you will be the best parent of what you can be. So please, everybody who's listening to this, Bad, there is, first of all, there is no bad mother and bad father, and
Right.
parenting does not cause autism. Yes, but having said that, what I will say is, like I keep telling you, 0 to 5 is anyway the age where your child's brain will develop the most. So
Okay.
not out of the fear of autism, not out of the fear of anything, just for the healthy development of a child. The child needs to be stimulated. Okay?
Okay.
That's the right of a child. You know, a lot of children in, sadly, who are in orphanages, when they start off their journey in life, they seem slower than your and my kids, because of the infrastructure that they are in, that does not have that kind of facility. They don't get
Stimulation.
that early stimulation. But our brain is very plastic. As they go into more adoptive homes, as they, which is why they always say ना, orphanage से भी बच्चे को बहुत young उम्र में निकालो.
Right.
जितना
Yes.
जल्दी उसको प्यार, जितना जल्दी उसको सोशलाइजेशन, जितना जल्दी उसको, उस बच्चे को स्टिमुलेशन मिलेगी, उतना जल्दी इज बेटर फॉर द ब्रेन ना. Even you and I, if I don't stimulate my brain for 15 days, 1 month, and I just keep sitting all day, even I start feeling fuzzy in my brain, I think.
It happens. In
Right?
fact, even elders who are 50 plus and they think, okay, the work is done, kids have been raised, and everything is done. Now we'll do nothing now. So if you see, by the time they're 55 and 60, the brain gets slower.
Yeah, which is because the
It
brain
is
is an
harder
organism in
for them
itself.
to
It
learn
needs to
new
be
things,
stimulated. Yeah,
adapt to
yeah.
new things because it takes
Alzheimer's,
slower.
Parkinson's, all this.
Yeah.
There's more and more research is telling you, the more you keep your brain stimulated, the better it is, because the brain starts losing cells like any other body. You
Right.
and I start having aging skin because we're losing skin cells. Okay.
Right.
Similarly, brain has X number of cells, and when the brain is very smart, when the brain sees कि अच्छा ये वाले तो neurons तो और synapses use ही नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो इसको फेंक दो. It's called neural pruning. इसको हटा दो, चाहिए ही नहीं.
Okay.
Okay, so that's another topic altogether. So which is why brain stimulation anyway, not for the fear of any disability, every child needs it. So
Needs it.
coming back to it, ki, especially as a caregiver or a parent of a very young child, I think children deserve to be stimulated. Now that
Right.
also doesn't mean तुम्हें लाखों रुपए के टॉय लेके आने हैं. आप अपने घर में रहते हुए भी उसी एनवायरनमेंट में भी बच्चे को बहुत अच्छे से सिमुलेट कर सकते हैं without activity kits and without, you and I can have a different conference on that also one day, but that does not fall into this purview. So yeah, so
We have some special schools and special sections in schools,
yeah.
right? Where kids with some kind of disorder, could be mental, could be physical, could be behavioral. So they are sent to special sections in classes. So why is that gap is maintained? Is it because if a person
See, again,
has autism?
I will go back first to one question because I lose that thought. The one myth that one I wanted to bust is that one, bad parenting, bad mothering, refrigerated mothers. They read a lot of this. Refrigerated mothers cause nothing like that. Second thing, vaccines don't cause autism. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a phase, and there still is, where a lot was put on the vaccine. There is a thing that they add in vaccines, which is called thimerosal. For the longest time, parents were made to believe that is this particular vaccine that has thimerosal that causes autism. The person who advocated this idea, his license has been taken away, his medical license abroad. Okay. So vaccines, if is there again another parent who's listening to this, do not shy away from vaccinating your child. Okay. For the first 2 years में सबसे ज़्यादा vaccines होते हैं, फिर धीरे-धीरे हो जाते हैं, फिर so whatever vaccines have been registered, have been told by the government, kindly get it done, because vaccines do not cause autism, or for that matter, any kind of challenge. Vaccines are there only to support us, only to help us stay free from diseases. They don't give us any disease. Okay, now coming back to your question of why are there special schools? Okay, see, Sonal, the child has delays. The child has delays in the area of maybe socialization or language or communication. Sometimes a lot of children do have cognitive delays also with autism. Okay, some might have a locomotor delay also with autism. It's quite possible. So people like me are trained. Okay, it's like saying जब मेरे को migraine होता है तो मैं सर्जन के पास क्यों नहीं चली जाती, मैं क्रेनियोसेक्रल वाले के पास क्यों जाती हूँ? या अगर मुझे पेट दर्द होता है तो मैं हार्ट सर्जन के पास चली जाती हूँ. It's the same. So when anybody, a child who's growing, is showing us delays, they need people. It's not to keep my market alive. They
Yeah,
need
obviously.
people like me, okay, to help the child to the best of her or his ability. Okay. And like we said, the brain is very plastic. There's a lot of neuroplasticity. There's a lot we can do in the first 3 years. So the earlier we start work as a team, the better we'll have. अब special schools क्यों होते हैं? See again, ये आपकी एक philosophical debate है. Whether when you find out that your child has special needs, whether be it autism or Down syndrome or cognitive impairment or any of those, now this is a philosophical discussion. Do I want my child to go to a school that is only for children with special needs? Okay. Or do I want to send my child to a school that is an inclusive approach? Now,
Okay.
again, coming to inclusion, yes, children learn. Why inclusion is successful? Because children learn a lot by observation. A lot.
Yes.
हमने अपने बच्चों को कभी रोटियां बनाई नहीं सिखाई, बट तकरीबन 2.5-3 साल तक बच्चे अपना बेलन लेके कुछ कुछ देखते करते ही रहते हैं, कपड़े भी मांझ लेते हैं, सॉक्स कुछ, they learn because they learn by observation, right? So inclusivity helps. Inclusive schools, inclusivity, though we should be an inclusive society. Inclusive schools help that during their education process, they learn a lot from the peers. But again, a word of caution. When your child has delays, those delays might not, or those delays may be coming in the way of your child to even imitate the other peer, right? So I have to first bring that child back into a more one-on-one therapy setup. Okay. And help first. अब आज बिल्डिंग 15 स्टोरी की सीधे नहीं खड़ी होती ना, आप पहले प्लिंथ डालते हो, ग्राउंड वर्क करते हो, पिलर्स डालते हो, फिर वो फ्लोर बाय फ्लोर बिल्डिंग चढ़ती है. सीधा 14वें माले की बिल्डिंग तो कभी नहीं बनती, right? So similarly, when a child is diagnosed with any kind of delays, okay, and if the delays or symptoms happen to be what we call the moderate, specifically in the moderate to severe category, it always is beneficial to first start up with a lot of intensive work with the child. And once the therapy starts showing effects, we are able to, we actually then start doing group sessions also. Within our own setups, we start doing group setups. And within that group, we encourage the parents, ki, why not take your child to wo therapy mein aa raha hai, that's another thing. Take your child normally to the park. Take your child normally to the mall. Take your child normally to everywhere any other child goes to. That park in your locality is as much your child's as it is a so-called neurotypical child. Okay. And we really don't know what our children are observing. They're observing a lot and they're absorbing a lot. A lot of times what we also see कि कई बार क्या होता है जब families को पता लगता है diagnosis का, चाहे वो autism हो, चाहे वो Down syndrome हो, चाहे वो cognitive impairment हो, एक fear आ जाता है कि मैं अपने बच्चे को घर में रख लूं, मैं अपने बच्चे को बाहर नहीं जाने दूं. मगर क्यों? You are there now. We are there. You are there to support him, to support her. And again, coming back,
it is the taboo also. Many parents are ashamed of sending their
but there
child
is no thing that
outside. But
they are ashamed. I can understand why, because there are a few people out on the streets who might laugh at your child, right? But I think that is that person's problem, not my problem.
Yes.
He wants to laugh at my child. That talks a lot about what he is, not what my child is. My child is a whole child.
Limit their exposure. If
the more you will expose your child, the more settings you will put your child. Again, when I know these are my child's challenges, okay. Now, one thing in autism I forgot discussing is when we were discussing the 5 systems of development: physical, motor, language, communication, socialization, cognition. There is also the development of your sensory system. Okay. We have what we usually read in books is only 5. But there are actually 8 sensory systems. It comes as a shocker to a lot of people. Okay. The 5 first, which we all know are your vision, is your hearing, is your smell, is your taste, and is your touch, right? What we call visual, gustatory, olfactory, tactile, and auditory. But there are 3 more. There is proprioceptive, vestibular, and interoceptive. Okay. Now, a lot of kids with autism have challenges in free
Okay.
systems. Maybe all this is absolutely there. Physically तो सब कुछ बढ़ गया, cognitive भी है, हाँ language communication में होगा, so इनके में auditory शायद नहीं होगा, physical and gross motor नहीं होगा, cognitive भी शायद नहीं हो, but language and communication, socialization, and then from here most children with autism will have delays or issues in the proprioceptive system, the vestibular system, and the interoceptive system. What are these systems? When I'm sitting and I see a glass of water, and without even looking, I'm able to pick up the glass of water without jerking it and dropping it.
Right.
It's my joints giving the message to my brain, this seems to be heavy, I need to pick it up slowly. This seems to be light, I can pick it up like this. Okay?
Right.
That's your proprioceptive system. What message your joints are giving. You know, मैं जमीन पे चल रहा हूँ, मुझे कितना जोर लगाना पड़ रहा है, मैं एक रेजिस्टिव सरफेस पे रन कर रहा हूँ, क्या मुझे जोर से टांगे हिलानी पड़ेंगी कि स्मूथ सरफेस है और मैं स्लिप करके जा सकता हूँ. That's all your proprioceptive system. Vestibular system is in our ears, in our inner ear, the balance, what maintains the balance of our body. Okay, and then it's your interoceptive system is understanding internal cues. That also is a system. A lot of children have impaired systems there. मुझे भूख लग रही है, मुझे प्यास लग रही है, मुझे पेन हो रही है. You will see a child who's fallen on the street, a child has scraped his knee badly, it's bleeding. But तुम बोलेंगे इसको दर्द नहीं होती है, इसको पेन नहीं हो रही है, इसको समझ नहीं आ रहा कि इसको बहुत जोर से चोट लग गई है. So there are issues in the tactile processing system from this category, from the tactile, from the 8, there could be issues in the tactile and the interoceptive. So a lot of children with autism have delays in addition to their language, socialization and interaction domains. They also have delays in their sensory systems. Like I said, there are 8 sensory systems. Now yours OT, a registered occupational therapist, will be able to tell you वो 8 sensory systems में से कौन से हैं. Is it the tactile? Is it the auditory? Is it the visual? Is it the hearing? Which one? Is it the proprioceptive? Is it the vestibular? It is the interoceptive. So that occupational therapist who's further certified as a sensory specialist is the one who will be able to help you there. So now I'm coming back to your question. एक बच्चा है, हम बोलते हैं जरूर पार्क में लेके जाओ, but maybe there are issues in the auditory perception issue and the tactile sensory system. Now imagine taking this child out to a playground full of 80 children. What's going to happen? Okay, I'll give you your example. कई बार ऐसा नहीं होता, हम एक भीड़ वाली गैदरिंग में जाते हैं, I'm like, oh my God, I wish they turned down the music. Oh my God, I wish there were lesser people, I could go in a corner, right? Yes. Why? Because at that point, our auditory system is overstimulated. We can't handle that kind of stimulation. But what comes to our defense? Our language, our communication. आप एक imagine करो, एक बच्चा है जिसको autism है, जिसका language और communication delayed है. साथ में ही उसके जो sensory processing systems हैं, वहां पे उसको जो वो 50,000 लोगों की नॉइज आ रही है वो बॉदर कर रही है. वो चीखेगा नहीं, चिल्लाएगा नहीं, अपनी माँ को बाइट नहीं करेगा तो वो और क्या करेगा? फिर हम बोलते हैं बच्चा पागल है. That's how they express. Today, if I tie your mouth right now with a tape and I tie your hands, and you cannot tell me what's bothering you, what are you going to do, Sona? Yeah. You're going to move my hands, and yes, I'm going to make sounds from things that I can find. You will kick the chair. You will do something. Yes. To communicate your need. So then again, coming back, why do I need therapy? You have communication delays, you have language delays, there are issues with sensory processing. So let's get together as a team. Let's get these people together and help work with these areas of concern with the family and the child. Okay? So this is why therapy is needed. The earlier you come to us, 2 people like us, the better it is. The earlier we begin work with the child, the better it is, the better is the prognosis. Okay? तो अगर आपको लगता है आपका बच्चा पार्क में जरूर लेके जाइए, बट मे बी तब मत लेके जाइए जब 100 बच्चा आया हुआ है, तब ले जाइए जब 3 है या 4 है, या स्मॉल ग्रुप प्ले डेट्स कर लीजिए अपनी कॉलोनी के 3 बच्चों के साथ जिनकी मदर्स को आप जानते हैं, बट डोंट स्टॉप द एक्सपोजर,
Right.
don't take away that opportunity from your child. Okay, so this is all I wanted to share. If there's anything more, because I wanted this session at least to be like really like what I call demystifying, you know, a lot of
Demystifying,
these
yes.
myths. We can get into a lot of details, but an overall understanding of why the child does
Yes.
what they do. So now the very next question is, okay, what kind of services will my child need? Ideally, if you can gather a team of a speech and a language therapist. Sonal, we've lost your video. Okay, back. So ideally, if you can gather a team which primarily should definitely have a speech and a language pathologist, okay,
Right.
जिसको हम SLP कहते हैं या हम बड़े colloquial terms में speech therapist बोलते हैं, speech and a language pathologist, an occupational therapist, preferably trained in sensory integration, SI. वो लिखा होता है उनके डिग्रियों पे, for OT with specialization in SI, sensory integration, and a special educator. It's the best. It's your best.
Now, that's something that there are few people who can afford. There must be some section of people who may not be able to afford or, pay out so much every month for these therapies.
There are
So
all
what
kinds of
is the
setups.
option
So
for them?
there are very expensive setups also. There are very reasonably priced clinics also. Like within autism, I would certainly like a parent to go to Action for Autism.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. It's one of the best, biggest parent-run organization. Mary Barua's own son has autism and who's now an adult. So I think when any program is led by a parent, is led with very good thought and very good intention. And Ms. Barua is the one who literally changed the landscape of understanding of autism in our country.
Okay.
Okay, so there is what is called Action for Autism. So that definitely should be on your. They do very, very beautiful mother-child programs.
Okay.
For I think 6 months, where you can take your child to the program and they train the families.
Okay.
6 महीने हमारे साथ अब रोज आओ. We will train the father, the mother, everybody, nani, dadi, whosoever wants to come, so that therapy can continue. Like you said, there are lots of times money, travel, बहुत कुछ होता है ना. They even do outstation programs. They even do programs for families who are coming from outside Delhi. Okay, so if you look up AFA, they call it AFA. If you look up online, you'll be able to get all their details. They have programs for outstation, they have regular training programs. Definitely be on their list. Okay, and they have parent training and family training modules. कि आप सीखो, समझो और फिर घर जाके करो, and then keep coming back to us for, revivals. And such practices are now also being done in private clinics. That again, parents can.
That makes more sense because parents spend maximum time with the child. 1 hour session or 3 hour session will not make that much of an impact that a parent can.
And जो आप थेरेपी करोगे उसका फिर यूज भी तो आप रियल लाइफ में ही देखोगे ना. तो जितना आप जो एक अच्छा थेरेपिस्ट होगा वो आपको आपके घर की चीजों से ही सिखाएगा कि आप अपने पतीले से ही क्या कर सकते हो स्पीच के लिए, या आप जो आपका बिस्तर है, जो आपका कंबल है, आप कैसे डीप, जब जैसे जिन बच्चों को लेट्स से सेंसरी सिस्टम में प्रोप्रायोसेप्टिव सिस्टम में इश्यूज हैं, आपका थेरेपिस्ट है वो सिखा देगा कि मैम कैसे. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग घर का कंबल में ही आप उस बच्चे को रोल करके अच्छे से डीप प्रेशर दे सकते हैं. Okay, so a good SI therapist will teach you all those tricks and things, that how you can help give your child the sensory diet that your child needs in the confines of your own home. So this, I think, sums up the mota picture of what I wanted to, kind of discuss about autism. If you have any other very specific questions, maybe the viewers can write back to you. I'm open to a small group consult for sure, where, via your medium, we can say, okay, there are 10-15 families with these 10 questions. Can we just sit down for half an hour and we can do something like that? That's not
that would be great. In fact, all the things that you have shared have been so much. They would actually help parents find the right path if they find themselves stuck in these kind of problems. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. And
Welcome.
parents, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you can write down your questions in the chat section below, and we'll pass it down to Miss Kalra. And we can even have a session if you all want. We can have a one-on-one sessions with all the parents and Miss
Yeah, we can
Kalra
do like
for
small groups. We can sit in a small group. Maybe
yes,
we will
and
do it
address
by
all your
concerned.
issues.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes,
All that
yes,
can be done.
definitely. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time,
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
we'll
Most
see you
welcome.
soon. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.